got asked about the idea of Gojo as a vengeful cursed spirit, so let's talk about it, but spoilers beware. Alright, so shout out to Sonic Vids for the question today, and he says, this was one of my big theories when JJK was ending. What if Yuta had died while in Gojo's body due to complications with Kinjaku's technique? Do I think he would have turned into a vengeful cursed spirit since he wasn't killed with cursed energy? I envisioned an expansion of what we saw with Naoya, but now with a new threat in the form of a special grade cursed spirit with the Limitless. So this is really interesting, right? Because what would have happened in those circumstances? And the first thing I want to say is I have a video where we've talked about a vengeful cursed spirit Gojo before. So I will link that in my response to your original question if you just want to hear my general thoughts there. But for the purposes of this, I think it'd be interesting to examine like, who would this actually be a vengeful curse of, right? Because would it be one of Gojo since it was his body? Or would it be one more based on Yuta since he is the one dying in that moment, right? Because at this point, Gojo had already died. And yes, his body has been reanimated, and we know that there is this very nebulous connection between body and soul, and especially if we want to throw in a new brain because of Kinjaku's technique, it's like, who exactly would be dying and morphed into a spirit in that instance, right? Because Yuta must be involved in some form or fashion because, again, at least Gojo, in some form or fashion, had already passed on at this point. So could it any way be like an amalgamation of the two or something? Because then we get into even more terrifying territory. Like, can you even imagine a cursed spirit with Gojo as the base template with then Yuta Okotsu's cursed energy injected into it, right? And thematically, there are some cool things we could pull from in terms of like what their lingering regrets and stuff would be that would have formed them into this, right? On Yuta's side, maybe like the inability to fulfill the shoes that had been left for him, right? Unable to go and become that monster in order to, you know, not have Gojo bear this burden alone, and Gojo's burden of loneliness and his like identity crisis. Like, this certainly would have been a really cool enemy to play with, but like, they would have been cooked, right? The good guys would have had to have lost if this had happened, or Sukuna would have had to like been the one to defeat this thing. So yeah, I can see why it didn't happen, but yeah, it would have been like a cool thing to play with.